The night was quiet, the streets nearly deserted. A sleek black SUV glided down the highway, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Behind the wheel sat a black woman in her late 30s, dressed casually in jeans and a light jacket. Her face looked calm, almost tired, as though she had carried the weight of a long day. To anyone watching, she looked like just another ordinary citizen on her way home, but appearances can be deceiving. A few miles back, a police cruiser had been following her. Red and blue lights suddenly flashed in the rearview mirror, piercing the still night. The sharp wail of the siren broke the silence. The woman sighed, tightened her grip on the steering wheel, and slowly pulled her vehicle over to the side of the road. The officer stepped out, his boots crunching against the gravel. His hand hovered near his holster, a cautious reflex. He was a young cop, still carrying that mix of arrogance and suspicion that often accompanied the badge, license and registration. "Ma'am," he demanded sternly, his flashlight beaming directly into her eyes. The woman calmly retrieved her documents from her purse and handed them over. "Of course, officer." "But may I ask why I was stopped?" she said politely. "Your vehicle was over the speed limit," he replied flatly. "And your plates, they don't seem right. Mind telling me where you're headed this late at night?" Her eyes flickered for a brief second. The SUV had government-issued plates, altered in a way only a trained agent would recognize. The officer wasn't wrong to be suspicious, but he had no idea what he had stumbled upon. "I'm just heading home," she said evenly. The officer didn't buy it. His instincts told him something was off. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am," he ordered. She exhaled slowly and complied, stepping into the cold night air. Though her posture was relaxed, her senses were razor-sharp, calculating every possible move. She had faced warlords, double agents, and foreign intelligence officers. But tonight, her challenge came in the form of a small-town cop with no clue who stood before him. "Where are you really coming from?" he pressed, scanning her purse and glancing at her attire. "You look nervous." She met his eyes and smiled faintly. "I'm not nervous, officer. I just don't think you're prepared for the answers you're asking for." The officer stiffened. He reached for his radio, prepared to escalate. "Ma'am, if you don't cooperate, I'll have to take you in for questioning." It was then that she slowly reached into her purse, not for a weapon, but for a sleek black identification card. She held it up under the beam of his flashlight. Embossed in gold letters, it read Central Intelligence Agency, Special Operations Division. The officer froze. His jaw slackened, and the color drained from his face. He had seen military IDs, even federal badges, but this was something else. She leaned closer, her voice calm yet edged with authority. "You've just stopped someone who doesn't officially exist. If I were you, I'd hand back my documents, step aside, and pretend this never happened. Because trust me, you don't want to know where I've been tonight." The weight of her words sank in. The officer's hands trembled as he returned her license and registration. His eyes darted nervously to the ground. "Ma'am. I'm sorry. I didn't know." She slipped her ID back into her purse and gave a soft, knowing smile few people ever do. With that, she returned to her SUV, started the engine, and pulled back onto the empty road. The cruiser remained behind, its lights dimmed, as the officer stood motionless, haunted by the realization that he had just crossed paths with a ghost from the shadows of government power. As her vehicle disappeared into the darkness, only one thought lingered in his mind: who exactly was that woman, and what had she been doing out here tonight? But he would never know. The black SUV sped down the highway, its driver staring ahead with unflinching focus. Her heart rate was steady, her breathing calm. Years of training had taught her how to compartmentalize moments like the one she had just faced. But the encounter with the officer had stirred something inside her. For a CIA operative, every moment mattered. A single wrong word, a hesitation, or even a nervous glance could unravel years of covert work. She wasn't just any agent, she was part of the agency's Special Operations Division, the unit that operated in the gray zones where diplomacy failed and deniability was the only shield. Her name to the world was Angela Davis, a simple, ordinary name for a woman who had lived anything but an ordinary life. But in the CIA, she was known only by her codename, Shadowbird. As the road stretched out in front of her, she couldn't help but drift into a memory. The night was bitterly cold. Angela crouched on a rooftop, her rifle scope trained on a warehouse across the street. Inside, an arms dealer was finalizing a transaction with foreign mercenaries. Her mission was simple: confirm the deal, gather intel, and extract without being seen, but nothing ever went as planned. Her comms crackled in her earpiece. "Shadowbird, you've got incoming. 3 hostiles approaching from the south. Extraction in 5 minutes." She had a choice: stay hidden and avoid confrontation, or intervene and stop the weapons from leaving the city. She chose the latter. In less than 7 minutes, she neutralized 5 armed men, torched the weapons cache, and vanished into the night. By morning, the deal had collapsed, and a war that could have killed thousands had been delayed. The agency called her a hero. But she knew better. Every mission carried a cost, sleepless nights, scars, and the weight of secrets she could never share. Angela's phone buzzed on the console. A secure line. She tapped her earpiece. "This is Shadowbird," she said. A voice responded, "Low and urgent mission update. New intel suggests the courier changed routes. He's moving through your sector right now. Package must be intercepted before dawn. You're the closest asset." Angela tightened her grip on the wheel. So that was why she couldn't afford delays. The courier wasn't just carrying documents, he had a hard drive containing the names of undercover CIA operatives embedded overseas. If it fell into enemy hands, dozens would die. The irony made her smile bitterly. 10 minutes ago, she was seconds away from being arrested by a patrol officer who thought she was just another tired woman on the road. If he had detained her longer, the agency could have lost everything. She pressed down on the accelerator, her SUV roaring as it sliced through the darkness. Somewhere ahead, on the very same road, her target was moving. And she was the only one who could stop him. Angela Davis, the woman the world thought was ordinary, was about to vanish into the shadows once again. Only this time, the stakes were higher than ever. Angela's SUV sliced through the night like a predator stalking its prey. Her eyes flicked between the road and the GPS tracker on her phone. A blinking red dot pulsed on the screen. Target acquired. The courier's vehicle, a gray sedan, was only a few miles ahead. She knew men like him, trained, paranoid, always armed. He wouldn't stop without a fight. Angela tapped her earpiece. Shadowbird on intercept. Visual contact in 5. Her handler's voice came through. "Remember, that drive contains the identities of 24 undercover operatives. Do whatever it takes. You cannot fail." A faint smile tugged at her lips. "Failure isn't in my DNA." Within minutes, her headlights caught the outline of the sedan. She killed her high beams and eased into the far lane, her SUV a silent shadow trailing the courier. Suddenly, the sedan swerved, accelerating. He had spotted her. So much for subtlety. Angela slammed her foot on the gas. The chase was on. The courier weaved recklessly through the empty highway, tires screeching as he tried to lose her. But Angela was better. Years of high-octane pursuit training gave her an edge. She closed the gap, her SUV inches from his bumper. The courier panicked, drawing a pistol and firing through the back window. Bullets cracked against her windshield, spiderwebbing the glass. Angela ducked low, gripping the wheel tight. "Wrong move," she muttered. She swung the SUV sideways, ramming the sedan's rear fender. The courier lost control, his car fishtailing before veering off the road and skidding into a ditch. Metal groaned and sparks lit up the night. Angela braked hard, stepped out, and drew her sidearm. She moved like a shadow, each footstep deliberate, her pistol aimed squarely at the courier's head as he staggered out of the wrecked car. "Drop it," she ordered. The courier's hand trembled around his weapon. His eyes were wild, scanning the dark road for an escape. "You don't know who you're messing with," he hissed. "Oh, I do," Angela replied coolly. "You're just another pawn in a game I've been playing a lot longer than you." With a swift kick, she knocked the gun from his hand and pinned him against the hood. Her free hand tore through his jacket pocket until her fingers closed around a slim metal case. Inside, the encrypted hard drive pulsed with a faint blue light. Mission success. But before she could cuff the courier, headlights appeared on the horizon. A pair of SUVs barreled toward them, engines growling like beasts. Angela cursed under her breath. So he wasn't working alone. The courier smirked despite the bruise forming on his jaw. "Looks like you're outnumbered, Agent Davis." Angela tightened her grip on her pistol, her eyes narrowing as the approaching vehicles skidded to a halt, doors swinging open. Armed men poured out, rifles raised. She slid the hard drive into her pocket, squared her stance, and whispered to herself, "Outnumbered doesn't mean outmatched." The night was about to explode. The night air turned tense, heavy with the metallic click of rifle bolts. Angela stood her ground, the courier pinned with one hand, her pistol steady in the other. Dust swirled as the two black SUVs idled nearby, their engines growling like predators circling prey. 10 men emerged, tall, armored, and armed with assault rifles. Their formation was tight, disciplined. These weren't ordinary thugs, they were trained mercenaries. The courier sneered, "You may be CIA, but you can't shoot your way out of this." Angela leaned close to his ear, her voice calm. "Lethal, watch me." The nearest mercenary shouted, "Drop your weapon." Angela didn't reply. She fired first. The bullet struck his shoulder, sending him spinning to the ground. Chaos erupted. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness as the rest opened fire. Angela dove behind the courier's wrecked car, glass and metal exploding around her. Bullets whistled past, but her mind was sharp, calculating. She counted shots, tracked reload rhythms, and waited for her opening. Sliding across the dirt, she took out two more mercenaries with precision headshots. Her movements were fluid, like a dancer in a deadly ballet, but she couldn't hold her position forever. Grenades clinked against the asphalt, smoke billowing. Angela coughed, eyes burning. Time to improvise, she yanked the courier's pistol from the ground, now dual-wielding. With a sudden burst, she vaulted over the hood of the sedan, firing in both directions. Mercenaries fell one after another, their formation breaking under the sheer ferocity of her assault. A rifle but swung toward her, she blocked, twisted the attacker's arm, and slammed him face-first into the car door. Another tried to flank her, she spun, firing a shot that dropped him instantly. Within 2 minutes, the once threatening squad was reduced to groans and silence. Bodies littered the roadside. Angela grabbed the courier, dragging him upright. His arrogance had drained into sheer terror. "Why, you killed them all," he stammered. She shoved him against the SUV. "They were in my way. You're next if you don't cooperate." Before he could reply, her earpiece crackled. "Shadowbird, extraction inbound. ETA 3 minutes. Location compromised, multiple signals converging." Angela's eyes narrowed. More enemies were coming. She holstered her pistol, shoved the courier into the back seat of her SUV, and slammed the door. With the hard drive secured in her pocket, she gunned the engine and roared back onto the highway, tires screeching against the asphalt. But as she sped into the night, a chilling thought crossed her mind. How did they know her exact location? Someone inside the agency had betrayed her, and this mission was far from over. Angela's SUV tore down the highway, the courier slumped in the back seat with wrists bound by zip ties. The night stretched endlessly ahead, but her mind was sharp, dissecting every detail of what just happened. The ambush had been too perfect. The mercenaries hadn't just found her, they had been waiting. And in her world, coincidences didn't exist. Her earpiece buzzed. "Shadowbird, this is Control. Status?" Angela kept her voice flat. "Package secured. Hard drive intact. But I was intercepted. They knew my position." A pause. Then a calm, measured voice replied. "Understood. Proceed to extraction point Bravo." Her instincts screamed. The handler's tone was too calm. No concern, no urgency, just controlled. "Is control the leak?" She wondered from the back seat. The courier chuckled despite his bruised face. "You still don't get it, do you?" Angela glanced at him through the rearview mirror. "Enlighten me." "Those mercs weren't my backup. They were sent for both of us. You're not hunting me, Agent Davis. You're the bait. Someone inside your precious agency wants you gone." Her grip tightened on the wheel. She hated that his words made sense. She pulled off the highway, parking beneath the shadows of an abandoned overpass. Pistol in hand, she turned to the courier. "Names." "Who's the mole?" she demanded. The courier smirked. "You think they'd tell me? All I know is your mission was leaked from Langley itself. Someone at the top wants to erase you. And when they do, that drive," he nodded toward her pocket, "goes straight to the highest bidder." Angela's phone vibrated. Another encrypted message from Control. "Change of plans. Deliver the drive alone. Courier is expendable." Her stomach dropped. It was confirmation. They wanted her isolated, vulnerable. Angela looked at the courier. Enemy or not, right now he was the only proof she had. Killing him would be easy. Keeping him alive might save her. She holstered her weapon. "Looks like you're coming with me." The courier blinked, shocked. "You're protecting me?" "Why?" "Because," Angela said, starting the engine again, "the only way to find the traitor in my house is to keep my enemies closer." As the SUV rolled back into the darkness, Angela's mission had shifted. The hard drive was still priority, but now there was a deadlier game in play. A mole inside the CIA wanted her buried, and she intended to dig them out, no matter how high up the chain they were. Angela's SUV cut through the backroads, headlights dimmed, engine throttled low. Every instinct told her not to go to the extraction point. If the mole had already compromised her mission, then Bravo would be a death trap. In the back seat, the courier shifted uncomfortably in his restraints. "You do realize," he said, "the moment you defy orders, you're a fugitive. Your own people will hunt you." Angela glanced at him through the rearview mirror. "They already are. I just haven't given them the satisfaction of catching me." Her encrypted calm crackled again, but this time it wasn't Control's voice. It was a cold, mechanical broadcast from Langley itself. "Attention field units. Agent Angela Davis, codename Shadowbird, has gone off mission. She is considered compromised and hostile. Detain on site. Authorization, lethal." The words hit like a blade. Her agency, the only family she had just put a target on her back. The courier gave a dark laugh. "Told you. You're not the hunter anymore. You're the prey." Angela's jaw clenched, but her voice remained steady. "No. I'm both." She pulled into an abandoned gas station, parked the SUV behind the rusting shell of a truck, and finally let herself breathe. The night was silent except for the hum of cicadas. From her jacket, she pulled the hard drive, studying its sleek metal casing. Inside were names, lives hanging in the balance. The agency wanted it not to protect those operatives but to control them, maybe even trade them. And whoever the mole was, they were using her as the scapegoat to cover their tracks. Angela powered up a portable decryptor from her glove box, connecting it to the drive. Lines of encrypted code scrolled across the tiny screen. She couldn't crack it here, not without agency-grade hardware. But she didn't need the data right now. She needed leverage. Angela turned to the courier. You know the networks. The buyers. Who benefits if this drive leaves the agency's hands? He hesitated, then sighed. There's only one group ruthless enough and rich enough to pay for it, the Helix Syndicate. They've been trying to infiltrate the CIA for years. Angela's stomach tightened. She'd heard whispers about Helix, a shadow organization with influence stretching from corporate boardrooms to black markets. If they had a mole in Langley, the agency itself was compromised at the core, and she was the only one who could prove it. Angela stood, the desert wind tugging at her jacket. They think they can erase me. They think I'll run, hide, and disappear. She chambered a fresh round into her pistol and slipped the hard drive back into her pocket. Her eyes burned with steel resolve. Wrong. I'm going to expose them. Every single one. And if the agency wants to brand me rogue, she smirked, then I'll be the rogue they never saw coming. Somewhere in the distance, another set of headlights appeared, this time unmarked black SUVs fanning out like predators. The hunt had already begun, and Angela Davis was ready to flip the game.